I wanted to take some time today to share a technique with you for letting go of strong emotions or any kind of emotion, but usually it's the strong and uncomfortable ones that most people struggle with. I learned about it from this book. It's called Letting Go: The Pathway of Surrender by Dr. David R. Hawkins. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Hawkins, but I would say he would be somebody very good to get familiar with. He's got tons and tons of books. I remember getting into his work. I was still in high school. I remember reading Power versus Force. And of course, it like completely went over my head. I was not at the stage yet in my own development where I could really grasp the concepts in that book. But I remember thinking at that time, I'm not there yet, but this is going to be a really, really important work for me at some point in my life. And so, I went back to it a couple of years later and suddenly it totally made sense. And I went back to it again and again. And I've read that book several times now over the last decade or so. Um, and so this is just another one. The Letting Go book is just another one in his series of books. But I think this book particularly is extremely useful, even if you're not wanting to go deep into his work. It's fantastically written. It's very simple. It's deceptively simple, actually. Very simple, very well laid out, and just a really easy read. I think I read this book in like 2 days at one point. And then, of course, went back to it and sort of got the deeper elements of it. But what I love about it is that he so clearly understands the mind-body connection and how our emotions, and specifically our emotions that we don't allow to move through us, how they contribute to illness and disease. And so I think it's just such a relevant book for every single person alive on the planet today. But I just wanted to share the technique with you because I've been using it myself for quite a while now, and I've been recommending it to pretty much every patient if and when the time arises that I feel that it would be a good fit for them. So essentially the letting go technique, again, deceptively simple, harder to do, but once you get the hang of it, it sort of becomes second nature. So when a strong emotion arises, let's maybe take the example of anxiety, because I think most people can relate to that. So let's say you're starting to feel this sense of anxiety. Something has happened and it's triggering this feeling in you. And maybe you experience it as this churning, this like deep knot in the pit of your stomach. Maybe you're feeling a bit of nausea with it. So in that case, all you would do is you would sit somewhere quietly and just allow that feeling to be there, which is remarkably challenging because the reality is that for most of us, we are so used to escaping. We repress, we suppress, we escape, we deny, we try to get away from it as much as we can because it's uncomfortable, it's understandable. But the point is, it's actually critical that you start to tune in and just feel whatever it is that's there. Allow it to move through you. An emotion is just energy in motion. The last thing you want to do is stifle or suppress that energy. And we can suppress and stifle and do all of that in so many creative ways. It's really stunning how well we do this, right? We can tune in by, doing video games all the time or TV shows, even reading self-help books or watching webinars and things like that. This is totally one of the ways that I distract myself. Or used to. I'm actually getting much, much better at this now. But, drugs and alcohol is another one. Sex is another one. There are all sorts of mechanisms that we put into place. But all you do is you sit with it. And the key here is that you just focus all of your attention on the physical sensation. So you're not thinking about whatever thoughts come into your head. You're not rationalizing it. You're not getting lost in your thoughts, which again, easier said than done, but once you practice, it's actually very easy. So you're just focusing on that sensation. You're not trying to change it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're not trying to understand it. You are just feeling it. And what's so incredible about this technique that I've found personally is that even even really strong emotions, I'm talking like anxiety where you literally feel like you're either going to pass out or you're going to vomit, because that's how I experience really intense anxiety. Even those intense extreme states have passed within literally minutes if I just allow it to be there and I'm not getting lost in my thoughts, because it physically just moves through you and you just allow it the space to do that. And what's really interesting too is that there's almost like an integration piece to this. It's like once you experience that emotion and the energy in motion leaves your body, there's also, my experience has been that there's also a real sense of peace that comes with it. And, the thoughts maybe that triggered that anxiety or the situation that triggered that anxiety, it's almost like um, you're almost able to see a way out of it. Like you're in a calmer place, you're in a more integrated place, and it's absolutely fascinating and wonderful, because I feel like this can really provide people with a solution to dealing with strong emotions. And then, of course, the other benefit is that when we allow it to pass through us, it doesn't get stuck in the body, which otherwise it does and it would, right? It's energy. You can't destroy energy. So it's got to go somewhere. And if you're not allowing it to pass through, what ends up happening is it will literally get stuck in a specific organ. And in Chinese medicine, we know they have a brilliant system that they developed 5,000 years ago telling us specifically which emotions impact which organs. And the reality is that, once this happens, if you're constantly in a state of fear, or if you're in a state of fear enough of the time, that fear will actually start to impact, in this case, the kidneys, right? So all of our organs vibrate at a specific frequency. And ideally, it's at a harmonious frequency. But now what happens is that the frequency of fear with its own vibration starts to sort of like imprint on that organ. And that changes the organ's unique harmonic resonance. And over time, that can absolutely have physical impacts. So I highly recommend this book to everybody. Try the technique, see how it goes, let me know. I hope you find some peace in it.